Universal Orlando Resort is on the verge of an epic expansion with its newest theme park, Epic Universe, on the horizon. All eyes are on the highly anticipated park as it inches closer toward its opening day. While Epic Universe is a park unlike any other, Universal has been here before, exactly 25 years ago. That's when an underdog studio theme park instantly became a multi-day destination. That's when Universal Orlando opened its revolutionary second gate. Let's rewind and take a celebratory journey through the first 25 years of this special park, its peaks, valleys, changes, and influences. This is the story of Universal Islands of Adventure. Out of the mid-20th century, Universal Studios Hollywood took its iconic studio tour in a new direction. The active film studio added blockbuster show scenes, such as the famous Jaws experience, to its backlot tram tour. These new scenes elevated the tour as an increasingly popular attraction in Southern California. MCA Inc., the operating company of Universal Studios, began exploring the possibility of building a similar location in Central Florida. This was on the heels of Disney's newfound success on the East Coast with its second theme park resort, Walt Disney World. Orlando was proving to be a viable theme park destination. MCA noticed and wanted in. MCA made a $4.5 million plunge in 1981 by purchasing several hundred acres of land in Central Florida for its future studio tour complex. Universal Studios was soon joining the theme park capital of the world, and suddenly in direct competition with Walt Disney World. Disney had been cooperative with other Orlando theme parks in the past. However, under the ambitious leadership of its new CEO, Michael Eisner, Disney would not be as welcoming this time around. In 1985, Disney announced its plans to build a third Orlando theme park, a different type of Disney theme park, a movie studio park. Sound familiar? This was Universal's welcome to Orlando. Disney-MGM Studios was criticized for being similar to the soon-to-be Universal Studios. Michael Eisner has been alleged of seeing Universal Studios Florida's plans in a pitch meeting during his tenure at Paramount Pictures. Regardless of how and why, Disney was securing the market before Universal Studios had a chance. Disney accelerated construction on Disney-MGM Studios to open first. It was a full-on arms race. Both companies were motivated to outdo the other. The competition pushed for bigger and better experiences as Disney exceeded its $300 million budget, and Universal upgraded its plans to include several fully fledged rides. This competition would become a trend. In 1986, MCA, in partnership with Cineplex Odeon Corporation, announced the upcoming Universal Studios Florida. Construction for the $600 million theme park was underway. Fast forward a few years, right after Disney-MGM Studios opened in 1989, Universal Studios Florida opened in 1990. Florida's newest theme park was a place where guests could see the stars and ride the movies. However, its debut was not all glitz and glamour. Universal Studios Florida's opening day was infamously plagued with technical issues, ride malfunctions, a power outage, and thousands of guest complaints. Major attractions were either problematic or unavailable. The opening was so disappointing that Universal issued a number of complimentary return tickets. Visitors would have a reason to return over the park's first few years. Headlining rides were overhauled as Universal Studios Florida improved steadily. These tweaks were only stepping stones for the property. A year after Universal Studios Florida opened, executives were already exploring significant growth opportunities. By 1991, Universal executives were workshopping ideas to turn the standalone Florida theme park into a multi-day destination. The expansion was heavily centered around a second gate, known as Project X, set to neighbor the existing Universal Studios Florida. In its early stages, Project X was a new direction for Universal. It wouldn't be another movie studio theme park, especially considering Universal Studios Florida never fully became quote-unquote Hollywood East as intended. Rather, the new theme park in concept would cater to families vacationing in Orlando. The Universal brand, however, had one problem with this idea. It was missing a roster of family-friendly characters. Properties like Jaws and Back to the Future were great for action rides, but Universal needed new, family-friendly faces. Universal needed partners. When developing Project X, Universal Florida met with several potential partners about licensing outside characters. Universal in 1991 struck a deal to land the characters of cartoonist Jay Ward and reportedly was in talks with Warner Brothers to license its deep catalog of characters. Universal also contacted Audrey Geisel, the widow of the author known as Dr. Seuss. Geisel was protective of her late husband's legacy. As a result, she was originally not interested in Universal's request to put Dr. Seuss's work in a theme park. Geisel assumed the result would be carnival quality, but she didn't realize Universal was going above and beyond. Universal was not wanting to resort to backup characters. The company was persistent and eventually pitched the idea to Geisel's literary agent. He was impressed and swayed Geisel to come see for herself. Universal gave Geisel the red carpet treatment, flying her out, hosting a Seuss banquet, and pitching the impressive concepts. After much convincing, she agreed, allowing the use of the whimsical world of Dr. Seuss in Universal's future theme park. Meanwhile, Universal had been hard at work incorporating the newly acquired characters into an extravagant theme park called Cartoon World. The concept would put guests into a cartoon world, as the name suggests, with many themed areas based on Looney Tunes, DC Comics, Jay Ward, and Dr. Seuss. The headlining attraction of the Looney Tunes land would be the Coyote Canyon roller coaster, based on the explosive escapades of Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. Other characters represented in the land would be Bugs Bunny, the Duck Dodgers featuring Daffy Duck and Marvin the Martian, as well as Sylvester and Tweety. Another Warner Brothers land would be the DC Comics area, sectioned off into Metropolis and Gotham City. Metropolis's e-ticket attraction was a state-of-the-art Superman 3D dark ride. Planned for Gotham was a Batman vs. the Penguin pair of inverting dueling coasters, a Joker Wild Mouse-style coaster, and a Batman stunt show. The Jay Ward area, featuring characters like Popeye as well as Rocky and Bullwinkle, had a few planned water rides. One blue sky concept was for the land's anchor attraction, a log flume called Dudley Do-Right's Great Northwest Sawmill. The ride featured an ambitious effect that split the ride vehicle in half before the big drop. The Dr. Seuss area had a few notable attractions, such as a Cat in the Hat dark ride, an interactive play area called the Noisarium, and a concept for a Grinch Jr. coaster. A brand new second theme park was only part of Universal Florida's impending expansion. Universal was planning to overhaul its Florida property, giving guests a reason to extend their visit. On the horizon were additions like on-property hotels, an entertainment complex, and parking structures, nearly doubling the size of the property. The destination would soon become a full-service resort, tentatively named Universal City, Florida. Universal Florida finally seemed to have a positive future after its opening day snags. Behind the scenes, however, the negotiations with Warner Brothers unraveled. Universal and Warner Brothers allegedly could not agree on royalties. Warner Brothers reportedly pulled out of the deal in 1993, meaning Universal no longer could use properties such as Looney Tunes and DC Comics. Thus, Cartoon World was shelved. Losing Warner Brothers was a massive loss, but Universal Florida was still fixed on expansion. Its second theme park was still on the table, a park more immersive, high-tech, and story-driven than anything before. With Cartoon World now in the past, Universal was quick to change its plans for a second gate. By the end of 1993, Universal had the replacement themes and tentative rides for its new park already selected. By 1994, the park was officially in development. The park would, quote, take the industry to another level, unquote, according to Mark Woodbury, Chief Creative Officer. The team of designers, engineers, technical coordinators, show producers, and many more got to work. Not to mention a little help from the new park's creative consultant, Steven Spielberg. One of Spielberg's blockbusters was an early Keystone theme for the new park. Back in late 1990, Universal in partnership with Spielberg began developing a Jurassic Park attraction, years before the movie hit theaters. The ride was being built for Universal Studios Hollywood, also coming to Universal Studios Florida at some point. However, after Cartoon World fizzled and Universal needed replacements, Jurassic Park was considered for the new park. And so it began. A Jurassic Park land was on the way. Possible attractions were to include the boat ride that was already in development, as well as short-lived concepts such as a helicopter simulator and a Jurassic Jeep ride. These attractions were deferred for future expansion. Without Warner Brothers, Universal was once again looking for new characters to license for the theme park. No Warner Brothers meant no DC superheroes, so Universal sought an alternative by reaching out to another comic book giant, Marvel Entertainment Group. Universal and Marvel came to an agreement, and legendary superheroes such as Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk were headed to Orlando. Not all of Cartoon World was completely dead in the water. Universal retained the rights to cartoon properties from Jay Ward and King Features Syndicate. Universal also looked into using properties like Hanna-Barbera, Nickelodeon, The Simpsons, and Peanuts, all of which did not last long in development. Another carryover from Cartoon World was the stories and characters from the mind of Dr. Seuss. One of the land's Seussian planned attractions was Sylvester McMonkey McBean's Very Unusual Driving Machines, which was a bumper car style attraction on an elevated track. Universal's new theme park was mostly based on existing IPs. However, one of the lands would have original concepts based on ancient myths and legends. Over the years, this land has been the source of an exaggerated rumor, alleging that a group of former Imagineers created this land by borrowing cancelled Disney concepts from the never-built Beastly Kingdom at Animal Kingdom. While former Imagineers did contribute to Universal Orlando's second gate, the Beastly Kingdom rumor is likely a tall tale, though an interesting one. Anyhow, headlining the Land of Myths and Legends would be a set of intertwining coasters known as Merlin's Dueling Dragons. In a similar theme, a show called The Magic of Merlin was also planned. Another major attraction was Journey to Atlantis, a special effects show. Guests would enter an astounding nautical drill that emerged from the shores of the park's lagoon. The name Journey to Atlantis, however, clashed with an upcoming SeaWorld Orlando attraction of the same name. Universal eventually renamed and revamped the show. Another attraction concept was Curse of Pharaohs. Egyptian imagery was seen in an early version of the park's logo. All those lands, all those stories, all those characters. The park's wide variety of themes properly earned it the name Universal Studios Islands of Adventure. Coincidentally, all the themes had connections to literature, comics, novels, legends, and storybooks. Rumors about the new park were rumbling. Confirmed details to this point were all behind closed doors. Islands of Adventure, developed under the creative direction of Mark Woodbury, Dale Mason, and many others, was inching closer to a grand reveal. In early 1997, Universal made it official to the public by announcing Islands of Adventure, opening in 1999. In 2 short years, the next generation theme park would open its gates, but it wasn't ready yet. Following the announcement, guests could get a sneak peek of the new park at Universal Studios Florida in the Islands of Adventure Preview Center. Anticipation was building. To tease the newly announced Islands of Adventure, the largest hourglass ever constructed welcomed guests as they passed through the parking garage hub. Universal Florida was undergoing a $2+ billion overhaul to turn the property into a resort. This shifted the entire property from a solo theme park with a simple parking lot out front to a complete vacation destination. Universal Florida added everything under the sun: a new theme park, hotels, an entertainment district, and a parking structure. It was more than a facelift. It was a whole new identity. Thus, the entire resort was rebranded to Universal Studios Escape. Islands of Adventure was becoming more than concepts and blueprints. It was under construction, a world of fantasy becoming reality. The engineering and technical achievements were massive undertakings, but the themes and stories were front and center throughout construction. In fact, if the story is to be believed, the first piece installed at Islands of Adventure was an obscure piece that had no reason to be installed first, except theming. It was a pair of two Dr. Seuss characters, the Zacks, who, in the story, refused to budge when they crossed paths. They stubbornly held their ground while civilizations were built all around them. True to their character, the Zacks stood still while all of Islands of Adventure was built around them. Theming was prioritized that much for this park. There was even a team dedicated to collecting props from around the world, like windmills from Holland, wagons from Mexico, a school bus turned taxi from India, and much, much more. Every world-building detail mattered, all down to the multi-million-dollar soundtrack produced for the park. The resort's transformation took 5 years of planning and development. In comparison, Universal Studios Florida was launched in only 3.5 years. Universal learned hard lessons after the problematic opening of Universal Studios Florida. However, for Islands of Adventure, the company was taking its time, spending 8 careful years from concept to opening. The park was eventually ready for a soft opening on March 27, 1999. This 2-month preview period was a chance to get the park fully up to speed before opening to the public. During this time, the park held its press preview as Steven Spielberg made a dedication. The ceremony was a spectacle with giant inflatables and a sample of the park's thrills. Also then, Rosie O'Donnell hosted a week's worth of her daytime talk show from the park. The technical rehearsal time was slightly extended as Universal pushed the park's grand opening back a few weeks. Universal was making some finishing touches. The adventure was only just beginning. Real quick, thank you for watching. If you're enjoying so far, please consider liking this video and subscribing to Storybook Amusement. Universal Studios Islands of Adventure opened May 28, 1999, a day the Orlando Sentinel described as quote-unquote smooth sailing. Unlike the troubled opening of Universal Studios Florida, Islands of Adventure's opening day had thousands of happy visitors and only a few small hiccups. The park and its innovative attractions were well received, so much so that Disney CEO Michael Eisner checked out the competition with a visit at the beginning of 2000. In Islands of Adventure, guests could explore 5 themed lands across the park's 110 acres. The islands were all separated by waterways and bridges, each brimming with imagination, discovery, and adventure. Let's take a tour through the park's original lineup from 1999. Port of entry is Islands of Adventure's entrance area, like Main Street USA. It's a town with gift shops and restaurants serving as a portal for adventurers from all corners of the world. Thematically, Port of Entry was built by travelers near and far, melding cultures from all over into one. Improv decor like shade from the canvas sails of ships make up the land's look, along with architecture from the Mediterranean, Black, and Baltic Seas. At the entrance of Port of Entry stands the 130-foot-tall icon of Islands of Adventure, Pharos Lighthouse. This is a functioning lighthouse based on one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the Lighthouse of Alexandria. That ancient wonder was the tallest structure on Earth at the time, using a mirror to reflect sunlight during the day and a bright flame at night. Likewise, the Pharos Lighthouse at Islands of Adventure has a mirror at the top and a roof artistically stylized like flames. Port of Entry acts as the perfect thesis statement for Islands of Adventure. The land encourages discovery as it is lush with details formed with mismatched aesthetics, just like the park itself. Port of Entry is rich with soundscapes and enveloping melodies, leading guests to the waterfront at the end of the town square. The lagoon spans a gorgeous view of the park and its many themed lands. Here, an attraction called Island Skipper Tours shuttled guests across the inland sea to and from a second dock in Jurassic Park. The transportation ride had 3 uniquely designed boats: the Boatney, Tropic Trader, and Sandplane. To the left of Port of Entry is Marvel's Superhero Island. This area's two-dimensional yet colorful look is straight out of the pages of a comic book. Its Art Deco buildings come to life with specialized paint and glass for a sparkly shimmer. Marvel's Superhero Island is a place where superheroes can make an appearance at any time, like in the opening year X-Men Street Show. The land is a marvel in itself, with a number of groundbreaking thrill rides. The most visually prominent ride of Marvel's Superhero Island, and quite possibly the whole park, is the Incredible Hulk coaster. This heart-pounding coaster may have had a cameo in the 1999 film House on Haunted Hill, but it's really the star of the park skyline. The Incredible Hulk coaster takes riders on a Bruce Banner gamma radiation experiment gone wrong.
We've taken those ideas of raw energy, raging emotion, and intense power and turned it into a very visceral, dynamic ride experience.
The coaster starts with a bang by launching up an incline, out a tunnel, and into a zero-G roll. The tire drive launch is so powerful that Universal created a generator system to power the acceleration. Otherwise, it could cause a brownout in Orlando. To find the right launch velocity, Universal Creative made a test system that propelled a welded derby car at high forces, up to 6 Gs during trials. The trials and ingenuity were all part of the process and commitment of creating an authentic Hulk experience. The streets of Marvel's Superhero Island take a dark turn down the grungy Yancey Street. The alley leads to the menacing towers of Doctor Doom's Fearfall, a terrorizing device made to extract the fear of test subjects for Doctor Doom's gain. The ride launches riders up its 185-foot tall towers. A theme park land based on Marvel would not be complete without the Daily Bugle and the one and only Spider-Man. The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man is a first-of-its-kind motion simulator. The Daily Bugle's editor-in-chief J. Jonah Jameson recruits guests to fill in as reporters to check out the breaking news of the missing Statue of Liberty. Riders board the Bugle's high-tech vehicle, the Scoop, joining Spider-Man in an action-packed chase against the sinister syndicate through the nighttime streets of New York City. The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man is more than an energetic story. It combines that storytelling with innovative technology and techniques. Stan Lee, who has several cameos throughout, said the experience ranks among his career highlights. It pushed the limits with a seamless blend of crisp 3D visuals and clever practical effects, using an advanced ride vehicle on a track. This ride system pushed Universal Creative to develop a technique called squinching, so the on-screen visuals match the perspective of the moving ride vehicle. The ride is crammed with innovative features, making it among the highest-rated dark rides of all time.
This was the one ride on paper that none of us thought could be done. We thought the design group was about 5 years ahead of their time, and they delivered this. Surprised all of us.
From one comic to another, Toon Lagoon puts guests right in the funny pages. Every day is Sunday here, with characters from yesteryear around every corner, like in the Toon Trolley Street Show. The gags, kinetic elements, sound design, and splashes of water all around bring the quips of Toon Lagoon to life. Toon Lagoon is the wettest island in the park. It was built with an underground water pump system that connects to the central lagoon, drenching guests aboard the water rides. Toon Lagoon and water rides go together like Popeye and spinach. Guests can take a classic Popeye voyage on the unruly Popeye and Bluto's Bilge-Rat barges. This raft ride soaks riders to the bone across the unpredictable raging rapids. How unpredictable? Just ask the creatives who made it. Don't worry, they fixed that. Toon Lagoon stretches to the neighbors of the north. Dudley Do-Right's Ripsaw Falls is a log flume with aqua coaster elements through a Canadian sawmill. Although the ride lost a few signature elements from the original Blue Sky version, it still follows a story of the dim-witted cartoon Mountie himself, Dudley Do-Right. Ripsaw Falls takes a 75-foot drop into a TNT shack with animated set pieces. The circus made its way to Toon. Pandemonium Cartoon Circus was Toon Lagoon's stage show. Cartoon characters performed circus acts and sang big musical numbers. The funny business was thriving with cartoon legends such as Rocky and Bullwinkle, Betty Boop, Popeye, and Dudley Do-Right. The famous arches welcome visitors into a world 65 million years in the making, Jurassic Park. This land is John Hammond's latest attempt at making a dinosaur theme park, canonically located on Isla Aventura. The thick jungles of Jurassic Park have much more to explore as it's Islands of Adventure's largest land at 21 acres. Guests can take a cruise along the rivers of time on Jurassic Park River Adventure. This peaceful dinosaur boat tour, like many other theme park rides, goes terribly wrong, putting guests face to face with a vicious T-Rex. The ride's climactic 84-foot drop, which not even Spielberg himself would do, reaches nearly 50 miles per hour, splashing riders at the end of their prehistoric journey. The creators of this ride were faced with a not-so-simple challenge of recreating realistic dinosaurs that matched the quality of the movie. Not only that, but the dinosaurs had to operate continually throughout the year in water under the bright Florida sun. It's all part of the task of making a real-life Jurassic Park. Kids at Islands of Adventure can run wild at Camp Jurassic, a vast play area with caves, climbing nets, and interactive elements to discover. Little ones can get a bird's eye view, or pteranodon's eye view, from a small suspended coaster in Camp Jurassic called Pteranodon Flyers. The land's show producer, Bob Shreve, said Pteranodon Flyers is a good introduction to roller coasters that, quote-unquote, won't scare the living bejesus out of kids. Jurassic Park had other tame experiences. Guests could get up close and personal with a living, breathing dinosaur in Triceratops Encounter. This walkthrough attraction took guests to a research outpost where a Triceratops was getting a veterinary checkup. The attraction had 3 Triceratops animatronics standing 10 feet tall and 24 feet long. These animatronics were among the most advanced in the park, being able to breathe, sneeze, and even go potty. The attractions in Jurassic Park capture the awe from the 1993 film, and the Discovery Center is no different. Not only does the Discovery Center look stunning from across the lagoon, but it's also a place where visitors can experience exhibits, interactive areas, and the magic of raptor hatchings. The prehistoric trails of Jurassic Park led to another ancient world, the Lost Continent. This land of myths and legends was divided into 3 sub-areas: Merlin Wood, Sinbad's Bazaar, and the Lost City, each with its own major attraction. Merlin Wood was a kingdom of medieval fantasy under the protection of the great sorcerer Merlin. He was enchanted and transformed into a giant tree, which served as the Enchanted Oak Tavern restaurant. The story and excitement of Merlin Wood, however, continued. Travelers could take a journey into the deep woods where they would find Merlin's ramshackled castle. 2 fierce dragons, Pyrock and Blizzrock, ravaged the land, took over the castle, and defeated any enemies with their powers of fire and ice. Guests joined the fiery, icy battle aboard 2 intertwining inverted coasters, dueling dragons.
The thought was to combine 2 state-of-the-art coasters, and unlike, conventional wisdom would say, avoid all objects, we intentionally set these 2 things out on a collision course to create near misses at really incredibly high speeds.
The 2 coaster tracks interacted with each other, coming within as close as 18 inches in 3 near-miss elements, which were all visible from a single vantage point on the pathway. The 2 coaster trains were individually weighed and released at exact intervals, so the flyby moments lined up perfectly. The Dueling Dragons queue was a prime example of Universal's newfound emphasis on creating immersive environments. The believably decorative queue in the plundered castle was half the experience. It was enormous and could fit more than 5,000 guests, but some of that space was already earmarked for a future expansion. The Lost Continent continues into a land of Arabian myths. Sinbad's Bazaar. Guests exploring this land could stumble across the trapped soul of the Mystic Fountain, the catchy tunes of the Bandits Out of Time street show, or the heroic stunts in the 8th voyage of Sinbad. This stunt show followed Sinbad in his search for treasure, including bungee and fire axe. The kitschy show had action, romance, and a bit of comedy, entertaining crowds in the 1,700-seat theater. The final stop in the Lost Continent is a Grecian area that seems to have emerged from the depths of the sea. The Lost City is home to the restaurant Mythos, designed by the person behind the Cheesecake Factory, as well as what may have been the most unique attraction in the park. Poseidon's Fury Escape from the Lost City was a walkthrough attraction in a classic showdown between good and evil, Zeus and Poseidon. It had an impressive facade with a crumbling statue of Poseidon and striking stone ruins. The experience inside was led by a guide named the Timekeeper, trekking into ruins through a 42-foot-long water tunnel and into a massive theater with an elaborate room transformation effect. The water vortex was among the show's highlights as it forced water around the tunnel at up to 100 miles per hour. The finale and its 200 flame effects had some of the earliest uses of water screens in a theme park, projecting a raging ocean being held at bay and a tense battle of good versus evil. The lap around Islands of Adventure makes its way to Seuss Landing, an area based on the works and writings of Dr. Seuss. Audrey Geisel thought the land meant a lot to the legacy of her late husband's stories, leaving them for future generations to discover. Seuss Landing was designed from a child's perspective, with sights and sounds only a few feet off the ground for kids to fully enjoy. This includes sights as colorful as sherbet, and sounds from speakers playing a wubbulous soundtrack from makeshift instruments. Famously, Seuss Landing has no straight lines, including the swoopy trees that were warped from Hurricane Andrew in South Florida and relocated to Universal. The wonky land took some special attention to engineer, and the scenery was carved from polystyrene foam to create the impossible world of Dr. Seuss. Seuss Landing has 2 interactive flat rides, Carousel and One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. The If I Ran the Zoo walkthrough experience, Seuss Street Show, and a wacky organist in Circus McGurkus liven up the Seussian world. However, the cheerful Seuss Landing did have one empty detail. Unfortunately, the Sylvester McMonkey McBean's Very Unusual Driving Machines attraction did not open with the park as planned. The track for the elevated bumper car ride was installed, even engineered with Seuss's bendy architecture, but it was closed to guests. Decorative ride vehicles cycled around the track to give it some motion and purpose. Even without the driving machines, Seuss Landing had more twists and turns to offer. The Cat in the Hat is a vibrant dark ride that retells Dr. Seuss's classic story. Riders board little couches and spin their way through the chaos of the Cat in the Hat, Thing 1 and Thing 2. The ride is full of animatronics and Dr. Seuss's signature style. The early days of Islands of Adventure had a nighttime fireworks show, as seen from the waterfront viewing areas of each island. Islands of Adventure's original lineup of attractions was electric. The park had a number of attractions that hadn't been attempted before, all in one location. The immersive theming was a massive step forward for Universal, being completely different than the studio park. Islands of Adventure's debut was only the beginning, as the park had opportunities and expansion plots for the future. Universal Studios Florida became a fairly clear and well-established brand since its opening in 1990. However, the addition of Islands of Adventure and resort amenities pushed Universal to change the name of the destination. The property underwent a drastic rebrand, being renamed to Universal Studios Escape. This new name didn't catch on with the general public. It was unclear. Was it a new park? Was it just an add-on? People were unsure, and it led to a lot of confusion. Despite how innovative and creative Islands of Adventure was, the park suffered from the Universal Studios Escape branding. The brand new park pulled in only about half the projected number of visitors through the end of its first year, 1999. Attendance next door at Universal Studios Florida also dipped. Under the Universal Studios Escape branding, the resort lost an estimated $100 million. Universal reacted quickly by abandoning the Escape branding in mid-2000 in favor of a clear and concise name, Universal Orlando Resort. Along with the improved branding, Universal made some adjustments to Islands of Adventure. Shortly after Islands of Adventure opened, the park was clearly heavy on thrills. Islands of Adventure was criticized for having too many thrill rides and not enough for families to do, so Universal made some changes. The first notable additions to Islands of Adventure were a few family attractions. In 2000, the teacup-style Stormforce Accelatron was added to Marvel's Superhero Island, and the Lost Continent gained the Flying Unicorn Jr. coaster built on a portion of the extended queue for Dueling Dragons. The Cat in the Hat ride was also modified over the years with reduced spinning for a more family-friendly experience. Also in early 2000, Pandemonium Cartoon Circus became the park's first noteworthy closure. The defunct stage show lasted only 9 months as the amphitheater would host a revolving door of various shows and events going forward. The Streetmosphere shows were also scaled back in due time. By 2001, a marquee attraction in the Lost Continent was heavily reimagined. Poseidon's Fury was overhauled with a new story and altered effects for an improved guest experience. In the early 2000s, the park's transportation boat ride, Island Skipper Tours, closed with no replacement. Around this time, the other lagoon attraction, the Nighttime Fireworks Show, was also phased out. While the park had some changes and closures early on, Islands of Adventure got festive as well. In 2000, Islands of Adventure got its first seasonal event with Grinchmas. This wintry spectacular takes place in Seuss Landing, with holiday cheer and snark from Dr. Seuss's famous Grinch story. Soon after, Islands of Adventure took a darker holiday turn. Islands of Adventure in 2002 was the venue for Universal's annual haunt event, Halloween Horror Nights. The event was held exclusively in Islands of Adventure for a few years, then spread across 2 parks for another few years, before moving back to Universal Studios Florida entirely again. Though short-lived, attendance numbers increased for Halloween Horror Nights during its stay at Islands of Adventure. Islands of Adventure was taking form in its first few years, but Universal Orlando Resort struggled in the mid-2000s. Attendance was slipping, budget cuts were made, and the resort wasn't getting many major investments. During this low period, Islands of Adventure managed to open a new ride. Universal modified the unused track of Sylvester McMonkey McBean's very unusual driving machines in Seuss Landing, opening the High in the Sky Seuss Trolley train ride in its place. This was another family attraction for the Islands of Adventure lineup, but the park was also on the verge of its most important addition yet. Universal was exploring possibilities for the undeveloped expansion plots in Islands of Adventure. One considered concept was a revolutionary dark ride using a KUKA Arm ride system. The proposed ride would be themed to the Van Helsing reboot, but the idea was eventually shelved. Van Helsing may not have been the right fit for Islands of Adventure, but Universal had its eyes on a massive franchise yet to be seen in a theme park. The Harry Potter book and film series was sweeping pop culture in the 2000s. The franchise was wildly successful with an imaginative world perfect for a theme park. The franchise's creator, J.K. Rowling, was reluctant to the idea, similar to Audrey Geisel all those years earlier. The question wasn't if Harry Potter would show up in a theme park, the question was when, and who would get the privilege. Disney proposed a humble concept to fit Harry Potter into Magic Kingdom's Fantasyland. The 2 parties were ready to move forward as Disney and Rowling reportedly reached a letter of intent. However, Rowling supposedly wasn't too excited about Harry Potter being in the direct shadow of Mickey Mouse. At Magic Kingdom, Hogwarts Castle would always be secondary to Cinderella's castle. Rowling wanted Harry Potter to receive top billing in whatever theme park it ended up in. She also reportedly wanted heavy creative influence. Thus, Disney and Rowling couldn't come to terms. The struggling Universal Orlando, however, was more than willing to accommodate her request. Landing Harry Potter meant everything to Universal, and its creative team didn't hold back. Universal presented Rowling with concepts of a fully immersive land with a technologically groundbreaking attraction unlike anything parkgoers have seen before. The concept matched the magic of Harry Potter. Rowling initially was reluctant, but Audrey Geisel, who had been in her shoes before, helped sway her. Rowling was sold. In 2007, Universal announced the Wizarding World of Harry Potter coming to Islands of Adventure, the park's first extensive expansion since opening. The massive $250 million investment would revolutionize themed entertainment. During development, no detail would be too small. Rowling was very hands-on in ensuring the land was as accurate as possible. Rowling made requests that would make this among the most authentically immersive experiences ever. Requests like hiring the film's production designer, Stuart Craig, as well as insisting no Coca-Cola products were present in the land, as to not break the magic. To make room for the Wizarding World, the Merlinwood section of the Lost Continent was to be removed and adapted. This included the addition of a bypass bridge that went around the former Merlinwood section. Merlinwood's cornerstone roller coasters, Dueling Dragons, still operated at this time, with a temporary entrance in Jurassic Park. These were the attraction's final years before being converted to a Harry Potter theme. Construction on the Wizarding World continued into the late 2000s. In 2010, at the height of the franchise's popularity, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Hogsmeade opened to the public at Islands of Adventure. Historic crowds showed up for the opening as the resort's parking garage opened at 5:30 a.m. in preparation of a busy day. For the first time in person, Universal guests could experience the snow-capped Hogsmeade Village and the magical Hogwarts Castle. It was a dream come true for fans, with shopping like Ollivander's Wand Shop and dining options like the overly successful Butterbeer. But as always, the rides were the real attractions. The former Flying Unicorn Jr. roller coaster reopened as Flight of the Hippogriff, complete with an animatronic and Hagrid's hut. The former Dueling Dragons inverted roller coasters reopened as Dragon Challenge, being lightly rethemed to the Triwizard Tournament. Inside the walls of Hogwarts Castle, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey is a cutting-edge simulator dark ride. The experience follows Harry Potter and his friends through impressive scenes encountering a Quidditch match, dragons, the Whomping Willow, Dementors, and more. The KUKA RoboCoaster ride system has a dynamic range of motion to give riders the sensation of flying. Forbidden Journey is a breathtaking experience with practical sets and an effective carousel of video domes that fully immerse guests in the adventure. Upon opening, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey was instantly considered among the best dark rides in the world, much like the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man a decade prior. Its intricate queue, deep world building, and advanced ride systems were praised and set the standard for future attractions. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter Hogsmeade was a game-changer for Universal. It influenced a massive surge in attendance and rejuvenated the resort, making it a serious competitor in the Orlando theme park market. Universal capitalized on the Wizarding World, hosting a Celebration of Harry Potter event during select years in the 2010s. The neighboring Universal Studios Florida opened the equally impressive Diagon Alley portion of the Wizarding World in 2014. The new Diagon Alley connected the two parks with the Hogwarts Express train ride, adding a station to Islands of Adventure. In the years after the opening of the Wizarding World, Islands of Adventure got some TLC and new additions. The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, which was revered for being high-tech in 1999, was upgraded with high-definition digital visuals in 2012. Also in Marvel Superhero Island, the Incredible Hulk coaster was completely retracked a few years later, in 2016, for a smoother ride experience with enhanced theming. In 2015, Jurassic Park at Islands of Adventure introduced its first dose of the rebooted Jurassic World franchise. Raptor Encounter opened in the place of the former Triceratops Encounter walkthrough attraction. Triceratops Encounter, which was renamed to Triceratops Discovery Trail, closed a few years earlier after on and off operations. Next to Jurassic Park, Skull Island Reign of Kong opened in 2016. The ride uses large trackless ride vehicles in the midst of the action on Skull Island, passing by a highly articulate King Kong animatronic at the end. In 2017, Islands of Adventure lost a major opening day attraction, Dragon Challenge, formerly known as Dueling Dragons. The coasters, which now operated in intervals for safety to avoid dueling, closed to make room for a new Harry Potter experience. That same year, Hogsmeade introduced its first nighttime show, The Magic of Christmas at Hogwarts Castle. The iconic Hogwarts Castle would get many different iterations of the projection show over the following years. In 2018, another opening day Islands of Adventure attraction closed, the 8th Voyage of Sinbad stunt show. The theater, however, wouldn't be removed as it would be used as the extended queue for the upcoming Wizarding World ride. Hogsmeade got a significant addition in 2019 with the opening of Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. The coaster flies through the Forbidden Forest in a story-driven journey with animatronics, a record-breaking 7 launches, and many surprises along the way. Its estimated $300 million price tag made it the most expensive roller coaster built at the time, surpassing the $100 million Expedition Everest at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Soon after, in 2021, Islands of Adventure opened another world-class multi-launch coaster, Jurassic World Velocicoaster. This apex predator of coasters reaches a blazing top speed of 70 miles an hour with a 155-foot-tall top hat element and a high-speed Mosasaurus roll just over the park's lagoon. The queue's animatronics and other storytelling effects set up the heart-pounding coaster. And most recently in 2023, the already downsized Lost Continent area lost its final attraction, Poseidon's Fury. This former opening day attraction closed with no replacement in sight. It's still standing in the park's 25th year of operation as a reminder of the possibilities that are on the horizon. Universal Orlando's second gate came together through a roller coaster of circumstances. A forgotten cartoon world and a failed marketing escape shaped the park early on, but Islands of Adventure turned into a truly exceptional place. It's a quilt of mismatched themes that meld together perfectly with the unifying sense of adventure. The park's creators went above and beyond to produce a place that inspires and influences, even 25 years later. It inspired a generation of parkgoers and fans to live the adventure every single day. It influenced the theme park industry to create bigger and better experiences. Islands of Adventure elevated Universal Orlando Resort to the destination it is today. It has also paved the way for an epic theme park that'll be here before we know it. Despite changes over 25 special years, the original spirit of Islands of Adventure pulses throughout like a heartbeat. Lingering remnants from 1999, small nods to the past, and a future as bright as Pharos Lighthouse itself reminds us all that the adventure lives on. Special thanks to those who have covered this topic, and to all the Storybook Amusement patrons. Shout out to the producer credits, Parallel Discover, and Nick E. Join today for as little as $1 per month at patreon.com/storybookamusement and get early access and other perks. Support the channel and grab some theme park inspired hats and tees at storybookamusement.com. This channel is not sponsored, so your support really helps produce videos like this one. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more. I know this was a long one, so thank you so much for getting through it and getting to this point. So thank you everyone for watching, really.